welcome to Bickering Book Reviews. I'm Sarah.
And I'm Becky.
And today we're talking about Verify by Joelle Charbonneau. We both got this off Edelweiss, right?
I believe so.
I did. So this is about, oh my gosh, I'm afraid that I'm going to miss some things for the summary, because I read it so long ago. So this is about Mary, whose mother died tragically in an accident, and her father just can't seem to get over the grief. Her dad's kind of fallen into the bottle, and she's trying to kind of keep that connection with her mother by looking at her old pieces of art, and there's an unfinished piece of art that Mary is obsessing over and is like trying to finish. And so like as this is all going on, and she's supposed to have this promising career in like kind of a
almost like a
governmental
designer,
graphic designer, but for the government, because this is set in a dystopian future where there is no crime, and you know everybody's happy and hunky-dory and all that kind of fun junk. So Mary just doesn't know though if she wants that same future. And one day as she's going to school, she sees some stranger putting something into a tree, and then he gets carted off by the police, and so she can't stop thinking about that. And then that kind of leads her down this trail that eventually she starts kind of questioning all of the things around her, and she starts to see kind of the seedy underside of the world as she knows it.
And then she gets kind of pulled into these people, because the idea
is kind of like a rebel faction almost, as
right.
one would expect in a dystopian novel.
Right, because there's an idea that basically there were words that the government felt caused like
unrest,
and so they got rid of them. Like, literally, like, the word verify doesn't exist anymore. And so, like, they're basically trying to save literature and stuff, and save these words, and save the sentiment around the words.
Well, yeah, like, human thought and, like, diversity and,
right,
you know,
so
having differing opinions.
The first time I heard about this book was we went to a convention, and the author was speaking, and she described it. And I remember when she described it, I was like, that sounds so cool. And, like, the basic premise is cool, but it just didn't hook me.
I think it's because the world building needs it needs a little bit more world building. But I think it could get there.
Because she wrote the testing, and I really liked the testing.
Loved the testing.
And the testing came out, like, right when things like Divergent and Hunger Games were really hitting, and I felt like it stood its own. Mm-hmm. Which that was to be able to stand your own against the Hunger Games was really hard. This, to me, felt like a junior dystopian novel. It reminded me, just the way it was written and the character, reminded me of Delirium by Lauren Oliver, which, to me, was kind of like second-string dystopian.
I have feelings about Lauren Oliver. But I'm not going to discuss.
Yeah.
But, so you were saying that you'd give this to, like, a 5th grader, but I just don't know if I would, though. So, like, I just think that's kind of young.
But my thing is not even necessarily that you would give it to a 5th grader. Kids who have read things like The Testing and Hunger Games and Divergent aren't going to be interested in this.
But I think that this isn't, it's almost, I don't know, because I think this is more of, like, the intellectual, politically minded mindset. I feel like it's less, I feel like Hunger Games and Divergent is more about action, and this is more about thought.
I don't know. I feel like it's going to appeal to the same kids, though, because, I mean, what would be your read-alike for this if it's not Hunger Games and Divergent and...
What would my read-alike be? Well, now I feel like I'm on the spot, because I don't necessarily know if I would say Hunger Games. I mean, yeah, it's in the same realm, but...
Because, honestly, the middle school and the school...
See, I would say more like The Giver.
But they read The Giver young.
It is true.
They read
but
The Giver.
It's something like read-alikes to The Giver, because I don't know, it's just a different cross-section of books that I'm thinking.
Because The Giver's, like, on the 5th grade assignments.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, they do read that young.
But because...
And you're right, you could, I mean, and it's safe, and it's comprehensible to the younger teen reader. I just don't necessarily know if I'd give it that young. I'd probably go 7th, 8th.
See, I think that the kids in my district by 7th and 8th, they'll be like, eh. By 7th and 8th, they've all, because there is an assignment in 6th or 7th grade where they have to read a dystopian novel. And it must be 7th grade, because they read, like, Under the Never Sky and, like, Divergent and all those. Those are their options. And I feel like if they've gotten past that assignment, they probably wouldn't. glam onto this.
See, and almost like the people who are reading like the social activist books, like this is who I'd give them to.
I don't have those kids.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm
sure they exist. I haven't really seen many of them,
right.
But like your nonfiction readers that are reading things like that, I could see taking their kind of step into the fiction section with this book.
Yeah, because like I said, I wanted to love it, and I liked it, and I feel like...
I agree. I didn't love it. I liked it.
I feel like... almost like I read an abridged book.
Yeah.
Like there was something missing. And maybe it's one of those books that... because I will be quite honest, I did not like Delirium, but the second book in that series, which you're going to give me a look, I loved. I thought that like she really nailed that second book. I mean, I read a lot of people say it was basically Catching Fire, but... so maybe the second book will do that. And I think I'm invested enough to keep reading.
Oh, I am.
And partially that was because when we met the author, she was delightful. And it's one of those people.
Oh, yeah. Like
sometimes these authors, you meet them and you're like, I want to help you if I can. Right. And she was just wonderful. And there were a lot of kids there and she was great with the kids, which I always appreciate. We should just rate it.
Okay. I mean, I guess, but I'm still getting back to the fact that like, you're right, like the romantic relationships and the friendships though, they're so quick, like they're so quick. It wasn't developed enough to feel believable.
It was almost like a synopsis.
Yes.
It was like an abridged version or a synopsis.
Yes.
Like it needed another 100 pages, which I don't usually want another 100 pages.
Yeah, it could have done with that. All right, so now I'm ready to rate it. Okay, so we have our unicorn system. We start with 5 unicorns if it's great. It goes down to 2 unicorns, and if we really don't like it, doesn't get a horn, isn't magical, and is therefore a horse. Where are you?
I'm at a 3.
I think I'm at a 3 too.
Reading the description.
There's potential here.
I thought it was going to be a 4, and it's possible the rest of the series will be a 4. But to me, this it was like a pilot of an episode of a TV show, which just didn't hit out of the park.
Yeah.
And so that is where we are on Verify.
See you around.
Bye.